Good morning. We're just catching up. Good morning to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I am Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
I'm Shannon Penrod, and I'm still going through all of my stuff here because we've got some pretty important stuff going on this morning. Lots of news. We have to start with something that's sad but important for us to address. Wayne Gilpin, a really wonderful gentleman, has passed away since we were last with you guys. And I wanted to take just a second to talk about Wayne. He was a publisher and he was the founder of Future Horizons. We feature their books all the time here on the show. They were the first publishing company to focus on autism. He was an autism dad, and there were things about him that I didn't know until I read his obit.
Isn't that always the case?
Isn't that horrible?
I wish we celebrated people more during their life. So many people said that to me when Reed died. I didn't know all the things he did.
Yes. I didn't know all the things that Reed did until I read his obit. But Wayne, we just had the opportunity to meet him briefly when we were in Texas, Kelby and I. Yes. But what a wonderful gentleman he was. And what I didn't know was that his son had been diagnosed with so many different things. He was diagnosed incorrectly with cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, retardation by 3 different doctors, and his dad kept reading and reading and reading, and then found out about autism and was then able to find out that what was going on with his child was autism, and he made it his mission to make sure that everybody had an opportunity because he had gotten it through a book. So he started a publishing company that was just for autism books. If you've never been to a Future Horizons conference, I want to say to you that you should. Nancy has been, because with that wonderful interview that
I did with Temple Grandin.
Yes, great interview that Nancy did that's all over the internet, was at a Future Horizons conference.
Yes, it was.
And it's such a great opportunity because they exclusively handle Dr. Temple Grandin. This is the caliber of people that they are. And there are so many other speakers. Dr. Jed Baker, who is a semi-regular on the show. Kara Kaczynski works very closely with them. Our Pocket OT that we feature on the show, and so many others. Alexis Weinman does conferences for them now. The Miss America, she is a powder keg and amazing. But then you go to the conference, you get to hear these amazing speakers, be with other, and they're really nicely priced too. They're not exorbitant. But then you get to go into the book sale where they have more books in one place about autism than anybody else ever has.
Fabulous book sale.
You could just lose your mind.
I bought a lot of books when I was there.
And a wide variety, a plethora of different things. So we just want to take a second to salute Wayne and to say our condolences to his family and to everybody at Future Horizons. His work, see, I'm going to get emotional, but his work has touched so many people. We're so sorry to hear that Wayne is no longer with us.
And let's just send our prayers to his family and his son. Do you know how his son is doing?
I don't know, but it's something that we'll check in on.
Okay.
But, our love and our prayers to this family. And if you are not familiar with Future Horizons, take a look at what Wayne created.
It's his legacy.
It is his legacy.
And he has a lasting legacy.
And it's a gift to all of us.
Right.
So, sorry to see that news, but a friend to so many friends of ours and a new friend to us. Okay.
All right. Let's read this beautiful poem.
And part of it is chopped off on our copy. So while you're reading it, I'm going to take a look. So tell the story.
All right. So a 10-year-old boy with Asperger's syndrome was asked to do a simple school assignment. Write a poem with the title, I Am. He nailed it and then some. I am odd. I am new. I wonder if you are too. I hear voices in the air. I see you don't, and that's not fair. I want to not feel blue. I am odd. I am new. I pretend that you are too. I feel like a boy in outer space. I touch the stars, and I feel out of place. I wonder what others might think. I cry when people laugh. It makes me shrink. I am odd. I am new. I understand now that so are you. I say, I feel like a castaway. I dream of a day that's okay. I try to fit in.
And I'm still, they've chopped it off in a lot of them. They might have done it deliberately. It was there all yesterday.
Okay.
Oh, wait. I try to fit in. I hope that someday I do. I am odd. I am new. But want to encourage you. I mean, we read it here for you, but I want to encourage you to go, like it. It's all over the internet.
So powerful.
Support this young man. His family, one of the things that I'm so impressed with is his family has gone very slowly letting him know what a big difference. The day that he was supposed to go to school and read this, he couldn't. He asked to stay home. He was a little overwhelmed.
His name is Benjamin.
He was afraid what people would think. His family kept him home, but his dad posted it. And then it was picked up by several different places. It has gone viral. And they've been letting him know in very small ways I don't think they've said to him that millions of people have read it and what a difference. But they're going very slow. But please support it, share it.
Yeah.
What a wonderful thing for this wonderful 10-year-old.
Apparently it was shared with the National Autism Association, which posted his poem on its Facebook page. So if you go to the National Autism Association's Facebook page, you can offer your encouragement and support to clearly a gifted young man who doesn't feel, and it's on our page.
It is on our page as well.
Okay.
Okay, so support that.
All right, the study.
We mentioned this with Dr. Granpeche because it came up in conversation, and I said that we were going to cover it during this hour. This is being featured right now in Disability Scoop, which is another good place to find great information. The title is "Autism Costs More Than Double as People Age." I think this is another one of those things that is like, duh.
Yeah, I love that. When your one expression that Shannon taught me that I love is, well, that's the duh heard around the world.
I mean, right? Because when I was growing up, one of my favorite expressions was the shot heard round the world.
Yeah.
Right? But the duh heard round the world. But what I've learned over the years is that it's important everything be science backed, right? So you can say, well, that makes sense to me and I get it. But when a study shows it, then people can't back away from it as easily. Super duper important. This is a study published in the journal PLOS One, PLOS1. And
UC Davis, right?
Is that where
I think it says UC Davis.
The state in California right now, they're saying, is currently shelling out $26,500 on average for each adult annually. By comparison, costs for those under the age of 18 are averaging about $10,500. Dr. Granpeche and I were talking about this earlier, that so many times we've had to explain to politicians who didn't want to fund ABA, look, you can pay $80,000, $100,000 a year for a couple of years to have this child no longer have a disability, or you can pay roughly $2.5 million over the course of their lifetime to take care of them. And she brought up, and that doesn't cover the loss of wages from the parent not working so that they can take care of them. And this could be a person who's a way productive member of society,
of course,
or it can be a drag on the economy, and of course that leaves out the human element of it, but sometimes you have to explain it to the politicians with the dollar signs next to it.
That's right. The dollar signs are what makes them take notice.
Yeah.
So the study's out. It's there for all to see.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a great show today. Do you have anything else for In the News?
Well, the only other thing, we kind of talked about it with Dr. Granpeche. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see that there was a new interview with the Today Show for Robert De Niro.
Oh, I did not know. Can you please illuminate me?
Yeah, so this one is done with Al Roker asking the questions.
Okay.
In a separate room.
Who has a son on the spectrum?
And they're in a separate room, and it's filmed so that there's the opportunity for editing. I had shared with you that one of the things that I was most offended by after Robert De Niro did his interview, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, and I like Willie Geist, but he said, I thought one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen on a program that prominent, when he and Savannah were talking about it after the fact, after the firestorm, when Robert De Niro was on the first time, and he said, well, he certainly came prepared to talk about that. He had an agenda. And I was like, well, You invited him to come to the Today Show. He began talking about the Tribeca Film Festival, and then your cohort asked him the question, and then he answered it. This shock about, well, he came prepared to talk about that. To me, it did not look like it was a prepared statement at all. But
No,
even if
nor
he
did
had
we.
been prepared to talk about it, it would have been because you invited him and asked the question.
About the controversy surrounding Vaxxed, which there continues to be major controversy. Shannon, do we have is our interview going
It's
to air
playing tomorrow.
Okay, this is very important. Please take note. We have an interview tomorrow at what time?
It'll be in the 11 o'clock hour.
11
tomorrow's
o'clock
show.
hour.
And it's a full hour, and it's going to start right at 11.
And it is not to be missed.
And it won't be edited.
It
There's
will
no
not be
editing.
edited. It is with Del Hightower, who
Big Tree.
Big Tree.
You have the disease that I have now, where I say all the time. Big Tree.
Big Tree. Sorry, Del. I love Del. Anyway, Del Big Tree Hightower, who and Polly Tomey, producers on the film and prominently featured in the film. We asked some tough questions,
Vaxxed.
I think.
The film Vaxxed.
The film Vaxxed.
We certainly, I was saying earlier when we were talking with Dr. Gramsci, we said to them it has to be a gloves off.
Right.
And we have to be able to ask whatever we want to ask. And that our promise to them was they could answer in full, we wouldn't cut them off, and that we wouldn't edit it. So that's playing tomorrow.
Well, the controversy surrounding Vaxxed is swirling as we speak. This week, I am hearing many things in the autism community about how I guess, pro-vaccine forces are going to react to this film and what they're going to be doing to counteract it.
Well, and we didn't really talk about this new interview with today, except to say that it's Al
go
Roker.
ahead.
But so Robert De Niro, I saw the clip of it, and he says, "Look, I still have questions. And then what's her name, Jane?
Yes.
Says
Jane or Savannah?
No, the person who's the co-founder of the Tribeca Film
Oh
Festival.
yes, Rosenthal.
Is it Jane? Mm-hmm. She said, because at one point he says, well, the reason why we pulled it is because Jane said, again, she's the one that told him that the other filmmakers, I can't believe that other filmmakers were like, you get your opportunity to get your film in the Tribeca Film Festival, and you really call up and go, you tell Robert De Niro that if he doesn't pull that film, I'm out. I can't picture that.
I can't either.
But okay, that's what Jane says. All right. Okay. But he says, well, Jane said that, and I'm looking into it. He says that, right? So I don't think De Niro believes it either, but whatever. Okay, so, and then Jane gets her moment to speak, and she says, there are inaccuracies in the film. At minute 20, one person says something and then it's contradicted later. She said, I had problems with it. And she says, but everybody should see it for themselves to make up their own minds. If you have questions, see the movie. And then she says, look, because Al Roker asks the question, he says, do you think you did them a favor? And she says, well, when it was going to be shown at the Tribeca Film Festival, it was going to be in a 125-seat theater shown once.
I did read that. And now people are lining up to see it, at least in the major cities. Okay. So Vaxxed controversy continues.
It does.
Watch our show tomorrow. Watch it. You're going to learn a lot.
And I think if we did our jobs right, I think you're just going to have more questions.
Right.
And
I
I think that's
I agree.
that's what it's about. Ask questions. We're out of time.
Okay, we have great guests coming up. First, we have Melissa Lake from One Hope, who is our lead sponsor. It's the One Hope Act Today for Military
love
Families.
One Hope.
One Hope is an amazing, it is a cause-related company, which we will explain with Melissa. She's going to be joining us next, and please stay tuned for the folks from Lineagen. Lineagen is a genetic testing company which has a lot of help for families with autism and things that every family with a child with autism should know about, what's available to them. We have two wonderful representatives from that company that are coming on, so that'll be just a little bit later. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Melissa from One Hope.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy and I are thrilled and excited because we have with us Melissa Lake, who is the Executive Director of One Hope Foundation and the Director of Social Impact for One Hope, an amazing young woman and an amazing organization. She's responsible for the foundation's brand, social responsibility, external nonprofit partnerships, one of which is a lovely collaboration between One Hope and Autism Care and Treatment Today in particular. They are your lead sponsor, correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy?
Yes, they are our title sponsor on the run. They have been that for the past 5 years. The first year they were the festival sponsor. We have a long relation. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here. I know every year when we go to the ATMF run, you guys are such a positive presence, and it's a thrill to have you guys there, and so excited. So first we want to talk about you in particular. You have such an impressive background, which led to you working for One Hope. What attracted you to this wonderful company?
Well, thank you so much for those kind words. I've been with One Hope for just under 4 years, which is the longest that I've ever been anywhere. And I think that's very telling to how wonderful it is here. And what drew me to One Hope in general was the fact that there's a really strong belief that we can make a very positive social impact through selling for-profit products. It started as a wine company that gives back and has expanded to also including coffee and gifts and some other products in the works. And I'm a firm believer that every single company should give back, and it's not just because it's good for PR, but it's the right thing to do. And that's what drew me to One Hope, was how firmly that was ingrained into the culture and into the business model.
And let's talk about the company, Melissa. Tell us about the vision and the mission statement of One Hope.
Yeah, so One Hope is, like I said, it's a company that makes delightful products that give back. It started in 2007 by Jake Cloberdance and some other founders.
Who is a board member of Act Today, I want to just insert.
Exactly, yes, good point. And basically they all worked in the wine industry, and they saw that in October in the grocery stores, a lot of things turned pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And when they did that and products supported Breast Cancer Awareness Month, they got really good placement in the grocery stores. They got a lot of good coverage and a lot of sales. But as soon as October was over, those products went back to not supporting any causes. And they decided that they wanted to create a brand that gives back all day, every year, all day, every day, every year. And so it began over a conversation at a restaurant in Orange County. And basically the founder and owner of that restaurant overheard them talking and said, I love this concept. I'll be your first account. When you have the wine, come here and I will serve it. And I think they thought that that was a really amazing, proof of concept. And they started with about 68 cases of wine in the back of their car. And I actually just heard from Jake that I didn't know this. We actually sponsored the first, your first run prior to us even selling any wine in general. And this was the first event that Jake poured wine at, which is really special. It shows how much we love you guys, how much we love what you guys do, and how long we've been working together.
Well, and that is so deeply appreciated, we have to say. But there are many causes that you guys embrace. Why do you love autism so much, and why do you love Act Today so much? Because we love you.
Absolutely. Well, as we all know, autism is such a prevalent cause and something that is so frequently talked about. And it's something that it's very important to us to be able to support those who this is a factor in their life. We see, every year the statistics change, and I believe right now it's 1 in 68 children will be diagnosed with autism. And we just want to be part of the conversation. We want to help in every way that we can and support Act Today in the efforts of, providing effective and efficient treatment so that we can help as many children as possible.
Melissa, why is it important for businesses and brands to be socially responsible and have a social impact? Can you answer that question?
Yeah. In all honesty, there's a lot of reasons for it. The first and foremost is that it's the right thing to do. Every single business has a responsibility to give back and to not just exist for profit. I believe that it should be unselfish in their motives, that, every single product has a tie that it could support, from being sustainably sourced to, finding what the authentic nature is that it could support. And it's really important that we do this because every single consumer now wants to shop that way. The latest study is that 96% of people will choose a product that gives back over one that doesn't. And I think that's really telling. That obviously helps support the bottom line. And I'm happy with that too, because if we can keep the lights on and sell more product, then people can donate more and make more of a positive social impact. So it's a virtuous cycle. And, in our case, people are going to buy wine, and they're going to hopefully buy a lot of it. So we would rather have a wine company that gives back than one that doesn't.
Well,
so
let's talk about how they can do that. How can they connect with One Hope? How can they support autism by buying wine? And you have a great package too for autism. Tell us how to connect with One Hope.
Absolutely. Our website is onehopewine.com. You can purchase directly through there and ship to most states. You can also purchase through Amazon.com. And we do, as you mentioned, we have some gift sets that are beautiful, that are not just the wine, but there are some that include the wine. As you mentioned earlier, we do support a lot of causes. So all of our wines are available online and can be, you can shop by cause or shop by varietal specifically. Our cab happens to be delicious, so I highly recommend it, and it's the one that supports Act Today.
Okay, so we encourage everybody to do that. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for everything One Hope does for Act Today. We look forward to seeing Tom and all of your people at the run in a week and a half.
Yes.
Wow. And let me tell you, there's a great wine and beer tent that the One Hope is freely pouring. So go to our act-today.org website to sign up for the run and come to the festival and meet the One Hope people. And thank you, Melissa, for your support of Act Today.
Thank you guys for everything that you do, and keep up the amazing work.
You keep up your amazing work. All right.
Thank you, Melissa.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so when we come back, we're going to be with the folks from Lineagen, the genetic testing company. They are also supporting Act Today in the Run.
Yes.
They are the co-sponsor of the festival with the fabulous festival we have after the run. And so we're going to be talking to Robert Wassman, MD. He's the Chief Medical Officer. And also Rena's last name I have in front of me here, Vanzo. And she's a geneticist. So they're going to talk not only about their support, but about genetic testing in children with autism. Stay with us. And we are back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And we are now joined by some folks from Lineagen who are the co-sponsors of the festival at the Act Today for Military Families Run and Festival. Sponsored by One Hope, I gotta say that too, because they're our title sponsor. But we're gonna learn a lot from you today about genetic testing and autism. But first, I just want to give a bit on your backgrounds. Dr. E. Robert Wassman is the Chief Medical Officer at Lineagen, Salt Lake City-based company, and they are focused on genetic diagnostic services for individuals with ASD or other conditions of childhood development. And Bob, you've got such a resume. Let it just suffice to say you pioneered the introduction of genetic testing and personalized medicine for over 30 years. Okay, right. Let's move on to Rena. And Rena, at such a young age, I mean, you're so youthful. You have a lot too. You have an MS in medical genetics from Indiana University. You've been a genetic counselor for some time now, and you have been with Lineagen for how long?
5.5 years.
5.5 years. Mm-hmm. And you were the first genetic counselor at Lineagen, and you helped develop the first step DX plus clinical CMA. What does CMA stand for?
Chromosomal microarray.
Chromosomal microarray service. Okay, and you are now the Vice President of Clinical Services. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. To have you. And we've had you before on the show because this is such an important topic. But for people who haven't watched, Tell us a little bit about Lineagen.
Yeah, sure. As you all know, Lineagen is a diagnostic genetic testing company out of Salt Lake City. We've been doing testing now for over 5 years, and I'm very happy to say we've had the ability to help over 8,000, almost 9,000 individuals with our First Step DX Plus clinical testing service. We're a small organization, very family friendly. We're not like a big reference lab that does hundreds of tests. We have a focus on a couple tests that are specifically meant for families who have a child with disabilities, especially autism.
And so tell us why the focus on autism spectrum disorders with genetic testing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you might know, Utah has a higher rate of autism than the national average.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 in 54 children in Utah has a diagnosis of autism as compared to 1 in 68 elsewhere in the country. So a 25% increase. So it's very near and dear to the hearts of the doctors in our community, the employees at our office. Many employees have a child with some form of disability. And as our roots are in Utah, we have done a lot to really learn more about research, autism, what are the genetic components of autism. As you know, Utah and Salt Lake City are the headquarters for the Church of Latter-day Saints. Because of that, our families are relatively large. We have very good genealogical record keeping, and we also have impeccable medical record keeping in the state. So all of that combined to form the Utah population database, and we were able to work with families who have more individuals with autism to do research studies, look at their genomes, and identify regions that were previously unknown to lead to a risk for autism.
And I have to say, you know, there's been a kind of informal rating about which states are best if you have a child who's on the autism spectrum. And while Utah had a higher prevalence, there was a period of time 6 years ago when Utah would have gotten one of the lowest ratings for services and for things. But Utah's really on the cutting edge now. Utah has a lot of stuff that's going on that a lot of other states could learn a lot from, and I think that you guys are a part of that.
There's a lot of things going on in Utah that's generated from the government itself and the people they're interested in. It's a really growing, vibrant economy for new businesses and medical businesses as well. It's important to put some of this in a historical perspective about genetics and ASD. To think about it, back when ASD was first described as an entity in the 1940s or so, for a couple decades after that, if you can believe it, people thought it was a psychodevelopmental problem in the family. And it was only in the 70s and early 80s when people started realizing that there was a high heritability and there were a lot of genetic factors involved in it, that people started changing the mindset about what was underlying this. Now, we still look at autism as it's grouping together people with a neurodevelopmental pattern of behavior. And what we do with genetic testing is we pull the individuals out of that and look for the underlying causes of that. And now, almost with the advances in the genome technologies, almost 50% of patients were able to find some underlying etiology for things. This is very important. It doesn't define autism, it defines the individual with autism and then helps us look at what's special and specific for that individual.
So let's talk about that, if we can, in common sense terms, because you know a lot of our viewers want to ask, well, what are the tests that you provide? Why are they important? Why should I be interested in genetic testing if I have a child or children, multiple children, with ASD?
Very important question.
Yeah, great question, Nancy.
Who wants to answer it?
Yeah, we both can. I'd love the opportunity. So if a family has a child with autism spectrum disorder, it is important for them to know that they can perform a genetic test to get to the reason why. Why does my child have autism? Is there some sort of an underlying genetic alteration, as Bob mentioned, that can help us better understand that child and perhaps what healthcare considerations we should be on the lookout for? And I think that telling a family's story is probably the best way to get this point across. And we've had the opportunity to work with a family in Utah, whose son's name is Ben. They're very happy to let us use his name. Ben is a 4-year-old boy, and for a couple years, the family had been identifying delays in his development that became very clear whenever Ben's younger cousin was sort of surpassing him. So there were delays in speaking, walking. A few of his doctors had proposed maybe he has autism, and the family just, they wanted to know really what was going on. They were on a wait list to see a geneticist at the local university. As you guys might know, often it takes months or even over
Years.
a year to get in and see a specialist. Ben's pediatrician learned about our company and our genetic testing service, performed the testing, and we identified that he had a chromosome deletion, a condition known as DeGeorge syndrome. Sometimes it's called chromosome 22q deletion syndrome. And this not only explained what had been happening and what the family had been seeing over the years, so it validated their concerns, but it also gave us prognostic information. We could look into the future and say, hey, many children and adults who have this chromosome deletion have some sort of an underlying heart issue. So having that diagnosis got Ben in to see the cardiology division. The next day, they found a heart condition that needed surgery. So he was in surgery only a couple months, within a couple months of having our testing done. And his family has spoken with other parents, and it may well have saved his life.
Absolutely.
I want to know what makes Lineagen's testing unique, Dr. Bob. I mean, there's a lot of genetic testing labs out there that do CMA and Fragile X testing. What makes Lineagen unique?
Sure, there's a number of things that really distinguish us, and Rena touched on some of them before. That is our focus. Our focus is on ASD and developmental disorders. Arrays can be used for a lot of things to look at the genome. But we've taken the underlying research that started with the work with the large families in Utah, looked at families with multiple cases of autism, and looked at specific genes that were underlying that. That allowed us to identify markers that other people didn't know about previously. We did further work with Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and found more genes. What we did then is we took the available technology. Microarrays are wonderfully smart technology. They look at the entire genome, but they're naively smart. They look at it without thinking about it. They look at everything the same. If they were looking at you for cancer, they'd look at the same pieces of genetic information. What we did is then make our array enhance in terms of the information content to look at the areas that are relevant to autism and developmental disabilities. We put more content into the array. We additionally spend a lot of time looking at the array and the results of it. We're not a big production facility. We take a lot of time to look at it, and then our counselors who are available for counseling before and after the test for families, which is really important, they look at it, they write a report that's understandable for the practicing physician. You know, physicians have a lot on their hands, and sometimes the details they don't really have all about all these things. They write a very readable report, physician, with comprehensive references on the latest things, and then they write a report for the families.
And there are actually, if I may, 2 other reasons why Lineagen is so special in terms of the testing we provide, and one of them is how we collect a child's genetic information. How do we get the sample? Over 5 years ago, I came out to San Jose, and we went with the family to get a blood draw for his genetic testing to learn firsthand. I can tell, Shannon, you know this is no easy feat.
You're talking to 2 moms that have a lot of experience
this is
with traumatic blood draws.
It's a stumbling block because for some families they would go, oh, it's a blood draw.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do it because it's not worth the trauma for that.
Exactly. I've spoken with so many families over the years who have wanted to find answers, but they've been so afraid to take their child in to get a blood draw. So what we have done is evaluated other methods of collecting DNA, and we are doing a cheek swab. So it's
simple.
basically like a Q-tip that can be done in the doctor's office. Some parents have even taken the cheek swab kit home so they can do it where the child is comfortable and familiar surroundings.
We're going to keep going here. We were going to take a break, but I think we're going to go to the end of the show.
Okay.
I think
All
that's
right,
a good thing
fine.
to do because we
All
want to,
right,
there's
we're
a
running out
lot,
of
there's
time,
still
that's
some
fine.
questions. Okay, so families, you're sitting here at home and you're saying, well, how can I get this? What's it going to cost? How do they access genetic testing through Lineagen? And what are some of the issues about cost, or can you answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. How do you get the test? Go to your doctor, let your doctor know this is something you want for your child. Many doctors are becoming more and more aware of genetic testing, again, not to diagnose autism, but to identify the underlying cause for autism. You can go to our website, lineagen.com, also our product name, firststepdx.com, and we have a whole team who can talk to your child, to the child's physician, and who can administer the cheek swab kit. Another great piece of news is that many insurers now recognize the value of chromosomal microarray because it can save lives and it can further identify medical issues that need to be addressed for these children. We have a team. One of the other things I wanted to mention about why we're so special, we take that insurance work off of the family's hands, off of the doctor's hands. So many families say, I can't get wrapped up in another argument with my insurer about who's going to pay for this. We have a team that will fight that fight on behalf of the family. So it is something insurers are covering.
But to be clear, we can't buy it ourselves. We need to go through a doctor to do it.
That's
Now-
correct. This
yes.
is a test we believe still is best ordered through the physician, not a
So
direct
your
consumer.
pediatrician, your autism specialist, whomever it may be.
Neurologist,
That's right.
geneticist.
Neurologist,
yep.
geneticist. Okay. All right. Why is the Act Today for Military Families Run-In Festival important to Lineagen? Why are you supporting us?
Yeah, a couple different reasons. As you guys know, Autism Awareness Month is now. It's also the month of the military child.
Yes, it is.
Every family who has a child with autism faces unique challenges, but particularly for these military families, they may be faced with one of the spouses being deployed. That puts extra pressure on the other parent to understand and learn about all of these things on their own, care for that child, do the therapies. Also, families may move from base to base where they're getting a whole new healthcare team every couple of months, have to re-explain the diagnosis. And what Lineagen can help do for them is provide genetic counseling. As Bob mentioned, we have a team of licensed and certified counselors who can speak with these parents, provide that support over the phone. They don't have to travel to the nearest city to see a specialist. We can help with that. We also have the clear and easy to understand reports Dr. Bob was mentioning that we can help share from provider to provider.
So
And one other point that people don't realize, that it's not as well defined as the increased prevalence in Utah, but there is an increased prevalence of autism and other disorders in the children of military families.
Yes,
And
there
so
is.
it is
I don't
an
think the
important
Department of Defense has come out with new numbers yet. I haven't seen them.
Yeah, but we don't understand why, but it's an important area, and we know this is, as Rita emphasized, it's critical to these families to get the support, and they move around. It's really important to have somebody who helps them through the entire process and can stay with them when they move to another base, another area.
And I know we're short on time, but I would be remiss not to mention that the military insurance is now especially recognizing the value of chromosomal microarray.
So TRICARE.
That's right. They did not cover this testing in the past, but
Okay.
now because chromosomal microarray is so impactful for individuals who have a diagnosis of autism or developmental delay, they are covering this testing, and Lineagen has worked with TRICARE for years now and is able to help administer this testing for those families
And this
in
is
the
through a
military.
specific demonstration project, and we hope that this demonstration project will lead to long-term coverage for those families, but right now this is a specific program.
Okay,
It's
so
an
take advantage of
opportunity
it.
that should not be missed. Let's just walk through what the process is
Sure.
really quickly for families. So you go to your doctor, you request this, you talk to them specifically about Lineagen because we've already gone over why your testing is so specific. We want to use Lineagen. Then, so your doctor then writes a prescription.
So, yeah, great question, Shannon. And what I might actually recommend is that they contact us first. We
Okay.
do work with many
Once again, how do they
providers.
contact you?
They can call 1-888-888-OPEN. It's 6736. 888-888-OPEN.
Okay.
They can contact us, ask if their physician is already part of our network. If not, one of our healthcare team members will reach out to that doctor, get a
Okay.
kit sent to them,
Okay.
and let them know the benefits if they aren't already aware of it, and then that family can go in, have the swab done there in the office. That kit is then shipped to our facility in Utah the next day, and we take care of it from there. We work with the insurance, as I mentioned. We will reach out to the families, offer them to speak with a genetic counselor, and all within 3 to 4 weeks, the doctor will have a result back.
Okay. And so it's all clear and explained to you. And if there's something that you need to do as a result of the genetic testing, that counseling will help you to identify that.
Absolutely. Our counselors will go through that report with the families. And by the way, our reports are twofold. We do have a physician-directed section. We also write a section specifically for the families. Some families think, how am I going to read this report? I don't have a degree in genetics. We write it specifically for families so they can better understand what it means.
And one of the things test results help with is those parents understand these things, not just the medical management of the children, but advocacy for therapy services are enhanced by having a specific diagnosis.
Absolutely.
So it really does help across the board with getting kids services they need and families help that they need.
And to address something that you were saying before, so is it roughly 50% of the families that are getting tested, you're identifying something that is notable? So
Right.
so maybe 50% of the people who are doing it, it's a deep cleanse breath, and you go, I've done everything that I can for my child. There's nothing to identify. We can move off of that page. But for 50%, there's something notable to be.
So what we find is that with the microarray, we found about 30% will have something on there, and those are oftentimes very actionable items. We then have a second test, which is called Next Step DX, which is a genomic sequencing test, which is becoming on in the literature, and our experience suggests that adds another 20 to 30% of cases where we find something specific. Now, it's 50% today. As our knowledge continues to expand, and we're doing things on the research end to expand that knowledge, we'll continue to find more and more things and more ways in which we can use that information to help the children and help the families.
Okay, we've just got about a minute.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, this. I just want to say, this company, the reason that Act Today is so thrilled to be in partnership with them is not only because they are family friendly and you do guide the families through the process. We partnered with you on a event down in San Diego specifically for military families, and those military families really felt supported by your staff, and you don't leave them in the lurch, so to speak. You guide them along the process. And then the other reason is because you give back. Let's face it. I mean, this is a company that's giving back to Act Today so other families can get grants and treatment, underprivileged families around the country that can't afford treatment and care. You are giving back to Act Today so we can help those families. And to me, that's a big plus in your column.
Absolutely. This is a company that gets it, that the science is there, they're trusted, and they're giving back to our community. You can't find a better company to put your trust in to get the genetic testing.
If you're interested. So one more time, how do they reach you?
They can go to our website, firststepdxplus.com. They can call us at 888-6736. We will also be at the run. We will have a genetic counselor at the booth there
on
who
April
can
30th,
provide more information.
At Tecolote, is it Tecolote? Yeah, Tecolote Shores in San Diego. You can go to our website, act-today.org. You could go to, I think your website has information on the run.
Yes.
And we've been running the video.
On our Facebook as well.
And on Facebook, we encourage you. There's still lots of, and it's got a fun run and an easy walk. It's not just a 10K. There's a 10K, 5K,
It's a great
walk
event.
and fun run. And then so much for the kiddos. And you can come talk to the Lineagen folks if you're interested in this for your child. Very important.
Absolutely. It's a very important thing to do. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I thank all of you guys
Thank
for
you for
being
coming
here.
in from Salt Lake City.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pleasure.
Want to remind everybody that on tomorrow's show, we start out in the first hour with Russell Lehman, who is known as the Autistic Poet. You're not going to want to miss that. And then our entire second hour is the interview that we did with Del Bigtree and Polly Tomei,
Not
the
Del
producer.
Hightower.
Not Del Hightower. That's somebody, I think that's a character in a book.
I do
think
too.
it is. But in any case, that is that unedited interview that we did, that controversial film.
Not to be
Vaxxed.
missed. You've been hearing about it all over social media, all over national media.
Nancy
Not to
and
be
I
missed.
interviewed. So,
Our
that's
interview with the
tomorrow.
producers of Vaxxed. Tune in.
Until then, until tomorrow, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And yourselves a hug from me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.